How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at Tales from the Darkside. This is Season 4, Episode 5, and this one's entitled No Strings. The episode originally aired October 25th, 1987, was directed by David Odell, and actually stars T J Castronova. If you guys read the Darkside opening credits, you know that he's a longtime producer on this show, so really cool to see him being an actor in this episode. Also starring in this episode is Barry Dennen, Cameron Milzer, and Brad Fisher. And I have to say right off the bat that even though this episode is predictable, boy, is it full of striking visuals, and it's definitely a case of an idea being so strong that I can overlook the predictability a little bit. The setup for this one is there's this gangster character in a secret warehouse somewhere, and he's recently just whacked his old partner. He's kidnapped a puppeteer and tells him, I need you to puppeteer this guy's dead corpse around as an act of humiliation to him. The puppeteer, of course, warns that puppeteering has a sense of magic behind it, and if you disrespect the art, terrible things can happen. And I think if we're all honest, we know pretty much where this episode's going, but I want to call back to the Season 1 opener. In my review for Beatles, I said it was pretty standard and formulaic anthology horror, but the difference between Beatles and No Strings is Beatles was just some bugs, it was just Beatles, they would disappear. Whatever. No Strings is predictable, but it's about a puppeted corpse. That is such a striking and macabre visual. In fact, his regular puppet looks super creepy, and when we do get to the show at the end, it is a really fun, over-the-top anthology horror sequence, and I really did love it. This episode's third act really did hit it out of the park. Now, that is one thing with this episode. The show doesn't start until the third act, and in turn you get them talking about a few things we don't really care about, and like the guy who has to rig up the corpse puppet takes quite a while to do so. It's definitely a case of not having enough to fill the entire runtime, but again, it's something I can forgive when we get there, because when we get there, we get there, and I think this is definitely going to be an episode that sticks in a lot of people's heads. It is just such gruesome and macabre imagery, and such a cool and unique idea. Again, the first two acts aren't the best, and we do totally know where it's going, but when we know where it's going and it's somewhere like this, yeah, it's still cool. So yeah, definitely recommend this one. A good classic slice of anthology horror bizarreness. I wound up liking this one pretty well. Anyway, in order to analyze the episode further, I do want to talk a bit about the plot. I won't be doing any major spoilers, so I'll be avoiding too much of the end bits, but I do want to break down and analyze a few things and say my piece on a few plot points. So from here on out, let's take a deeper dive. We open up with this gangster talking to his girlfriend, and he's super excited. I've waited 18 years for this day. I made a killing, pun intended probably, and I want to celebrate. And the girlfriend says his corpse is barely cold, and when people celebrate, they go out to a club and drink and dance. They don't go to shady warehouses like this, and she is completely unnerved and uncomfortable, and we'll see why in just a little bit. Eventually, the gangster's henchman ushers in this guy in his bathrobe, and it turns out he's a legendary puppeteer, and he's quite upset to be kidnapped, and even more upset when he sees that they've brought his puppeteering setup into this little warehouse in the middle of nowhere. The gangster says he's a big fan and convinces him to do his show, and they get out his puppet and hook him up to the wires. It's a life-size puppet, and that's sort of the guy's gimmick, is he has this special system with pulleys and levers so he can puppeteer full-sized marionettes. And like I said, this puppet is super, super creepy looking, so before we get into the corpse, we still got good imagery here. Well, he does his show really quick, and then he goes back and talks to the gangster, and the gangster says, I'm a huge fan, but that isn't exactly why I wanted you here. And then he opens a crate. Inside this crate is a dead body with bullet holes, and he says, this is my former partner. He just so happened to pass away. Yeah, there is a good bit of gangster wordplay in here. And he says, I want you to put him up on that rig because I have a few things I want to say to him before we dispose of the body. And the puppeteer, of course, is completely disgusted by this, and he gets this speech about how puppeteering's a delicate art, how you can make people believe it, and how you can manipulate people's emotion, and how to be a good puppeteer, it's this very careful balance. And he says that there's magic behind it, and he says that power takes a long time to build and can quickly be snatched away, and he's worried that if he desecrates his art, he might lose it forever. And then we get a really interesting counterpoint from the gangster where he says, that's ridiculous. You don't lose power, you take power, and you keep power by holding on to it tightly. And we can definitely see the two contradicting philosophies here. As I hinted at earlier, this episode takes a while to get going and there is a bit of talking, but I do love this conversation about art and power that the two have together. While all this is going on, he does also talk to his girlfriend, and there's bits with the girlfriend where she talks about having previously had a relationship with the guy who's about to be puppeteered. So yeah, that's obviously making this whole thing even more gross and awkward. And she'll go on for quite a while about how this isn't right, and this is supposed to build tension, and this is supposed to be ominous. I don't know, it just never really 100% clicked with me. And you get them talking, you get him saying he doesn't want to do it, and you get the guy taking forever to string up the corpse. Yeah, the first two acts take a little bit too long to get going, and maybe if there was somehow that we could put more mystery in here, maybe more twists and turns, maybe where it was a bigger reveal that there had been a past relationship with the guy that died or something, I don't know, but these first two acts, you're kind of like, come on, cut to the chase, I want to see the macabre finale. But when we do get there, it does get there. The ending swings pretty hard. It's an absolutely phenomenal ending sequence, and it does have some really good dark imagery. Overall, creepy puppets are something that is never really gonna let you down, and this is a great creepy puppet episode. And yeah, the ending absolutely kills it, so I can of course forgive a lot of what happened in those first two acts. So yeah, I can definitely recommend this, but storytelling wise, know that it's kind of standard anthology horror storytelling. We're just here for the creepy puppets. Actually, a really quick fun fact, the girl in this episode is named Tiffany, and the regular puppet is actually a redheaded puppet. I can't help but wonder if the Child's Play team had seen this episode. Maybe that was the inspiration for Chucky's girlfriend's name. I don't know, just quick speculation. But whatever, fun but predictable episode. Anyway though, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. This should be my Tales from the Darkside playlist. If you want to click here, you can see me talk about the past episodes of the show, and I hope to get to more very, very soon. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Playlist here. Have a good day now.